Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to what is the first event in our lecture series here in the Department of Philosophy and Religious Studies at the University of Macau for this new academic year. It is my very, very great pleasure to begin this lecture series by introducing to you Professor Jenny Hung, who is here visiting us from the department. The department, it doesn't actually say. Division of Humanities. That's why it wasn't top of mind. The Division of Humanities at the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. Professor Hung has not one but two PhDs, one in philosophy, another in nanophysics, and is also currently working on not one but two books. So a very ambitious and excellent scholar we have here today. The titles of these books, for reference, are Between Buddha Nature and Emptiness, the Peak Era of Chinese Buddhist Philosophy, which is contracted with Oxford University Press. The other, currently under review, is titled What Am I? Personal Ontology in Chinese Philosophy. In addition to these works in progress, Professor Hung is the author of several articles in journals such as Tao, Philosophy, East and West, Philosophical Psychology, and elsewhere. The title of Professor Hung's talk today is Immortality and Human Enhancements from Jussi's Perspective. Before I hand over the microphone, I will just quickly remind you all that afterwards, just to my left, we will have a informal reception at the Port Club where, barring disaster, food should arrive and be served for everybody. And with that, I would ask you all to come together with me in welcoming our speaker with a round of applause.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm very happy and honored to give a seminar here on Juicy. Actually, I'm not a scholar of Juicy, so I'm trying to learn more about Juicy's philosophy. If you have any comments, thoughts, questions, or suggestions, do let me know. Let me maybe learn from you. So can I show the slides? Okay, so today the topic is about immortality and human enhancements from Juicy's perspective. Of course, Juicy himself, as an ancient, not very ancient, but as a Chinese philosopher 1,000 years ago, have not heard of the idea of human enhancements. But my question is, given that we are nowadays we're talking about human enhancements a lot and its ethical issues. So my question is, what would Juicy think about human enhancements with the aim of achieving immortality? Mhm. Mm, mhm, mm. Okay, so I should point to this way. Try again. Okay. Okay. So here is my basic claim. I wish to argue for a provocative claim, namely, Juicy would endorse the pursuit of immortality using the method of human enhancements. And then, of course, there is some condition, which is provided that enhancements maintain or enhance our ability to act in accordance with moral principles. Juicy is a moral philosopher in addition to being a metaphysician. So he concerns a lot about morality. When we talk about immortality achieving via human enhancements, one of the major consideration is whether this kind of human enhancements can maintain our pursuit of moral principles. So here are the questions and the answers. Question: would Juicy endorse immortality? My very brief answer is yes. And would Juicy endorse immortality through human enhancements? The answer is it's subject to the condition. It depends on the nature of human enhancement employed. If human enhancements facilitate the manifestation of moral principles, they should in principle be permitted. So who is Juicy? I think everybody knows who Juicy is. Right. Okay. So I don't think I have to introduce him a lot. But he's a famous philosopher and he's also a historian, politician, poet, calligrapher in the Southern Song dynasty. And he actually has constructed a huge philosophical system. And in this system, he emphasizes rationality. He doesn't like mysticism. And he doesn't want to talk about religious experience. He wants to talk about something rational, principles, what we should do accordingly. So now, before we talk about the idea of immortality, let us take a look at the Confucian idea of the value of life. So this discussion about the value of life has been discussed for a long time during the ancient period where the Book of Changes is compiled. Within this book, there is already some message about what is good, what is virtue. So one of the greatest virtues is giving and maintaining life. So what is good about the heaven and the earth? They foster life, they generate life, and this is one of the biggest virtues. Production and reproduction is called the change. This change is virtuous, it is goodness itself, and it shows in the completeness of nature. So, endless generation of life is a virtuous manifestation of nature. Also, in the Book of Songs, 诗经, which is really compiled during the ancient China, there are sayings like this. So my father begot me, my mother fed me, let let me, bred me, brought me up, reared me, keep an eye on me, tended me, and every turn aided me. Their goodness I would requite. So it is a virtue for my parents to nurture me and give birth to me. And I have to retribute because they have given me so much. So the general idea is that gratitude towards parents has a reason behind because they give us life, nurture our development, and provide us with a physical body and our lives. These are all good things. That's why. So man should also have this idea. Man should said, well, although nowadays we have question about whether it is really reasonable. So Mencius said, among the three unfilial things, to have no posterity is the worst. So you guys have to think about, you know, having offsprings sometime later. This is the literal interpretation. And the general idea behind is generating life is virtuous. The absence of offspring poses a moral concern. So to summarize a little bit, early Confucianism believes that coming into existence is worth congratulating, continuing to exist is something worth celebrating. Okay, then let us move to Neo Confucianism. So there is a philosopher called Cheng Mingdao, and he thinks all the existing entities have sufficient reason for their existence. So you guys have sufficient reason for your existence. So if there are no other reason, don't commit suicide because your existence itself is the manifestation of goodness. It's the manifestation of reasoning. There is no creature in the world that does not possess sufficient principle. You guys are the manifestation of the principle. And Juicy has also provided a similar idea. So he says the greatest virtue in the universe is endless generation. The ultimate supreme principle, Taiji, embodies the concept of endless generation. He says, what continues is goodness. This is entirely aligned with the heavenly principle. So when you continue your life, it is already the manifestation of goodness. How can there be anything that is not good? When you exist, this is already valuable. So this is another passage interpreting this. Endlessly generating life is the principle of the supreme ultimate. And skin of stopping signifies the meaning of rest and renewal. Okay, so part of the reasons that we need to extend our consideration or care towards others or even the environment is because of this virtue of endless generation. So Juicy says it also refers to the extending oneself to others. Why should we extend our care to others? It is because when we have this kind of connection with others, it is the manifestation of the principle of endless generation. The process is rooted in the understanding that we are ultimately united. So we are trying to help with the endless generation together. And the virtue of endless generation serves as the foundation for us to care about others' existence. When I care about you, I'm helping the manifestation of endless generation. So there would be an objection. I know some of you are analytic philosophers. You would ask the question, really? Is it really the case that all the existence are valuable? Right. So, well, let's think about some examples. A human born with vital defects, destined to die within weeks, with a lot of suffering. Second example, a newborn in a country experiencing famine. So, this existence of the newborn baby add to the burden faced by the family, the community, and the nation. Third example, think about the birth of a distinct galaxy. So what is it to do with us, right? Why can you say that this distinct galaxy's existence is valuable? What kind of value does it bear? It seems like it's very difficult to give an answer to these questions. So what would Juicy say about these? Well, here is the answer. So Juicy follows another Neo-Confucian's idea, 诚意. So 诚意 proposes the idea of qi, material force, qi. So your configuration of qi may not be perfect. So we are born with some configuration of qi. That's why we have immoral emotions, we have immoral tendencies. All these are influenced by the configuration of qi. So he says that person does not know how to do good. It's because of the darkness of the qi. So we have darkness of qi. And this is Juicy saying. Juicy said there are two forces of yin and yang, and sometimes they are unbalanced. And therefore there is evil. Evil comes from the unbalanced force of yin and yang. So my explanation is, well, you can say every existence in itself as the manifestation of existence is valuable. But unbalanced qi may render their existence less valuable. To what extent? To the extent that actually it is possible for the overall value of a particular entity to be negative. So even if the existence of this table, this chair, is in itself positive, but the configuration of T may hinder something, for example, endless generation, such that the overall value of existence of this thing is negative. So here is an example. A mass murderer, he cannot control himself. He just enjoys killing. He's crazy. Why is he like that? He has a bad configuration of T, according to Juicy. So what about his value of existence, according to Juicy? Well, I think Juicy would say his overall value of existence is negative. Even if her existence is valuable in itself. But the inferior T configuration does not contribute positively to the overall process of endless generation. He or she's a mass murderer, right? He likes to kill people, so she cannot contribute to the endless generation. Okay, so this is the picture of Zhu Xi's idea of value of life. Now, let us turn to immortality itself. What does Juicy think about immortality? Well, first of all, you should be proud of yourself. We are the most valuable existence in the world. It's because we can realize moral principles. Everybody, all human beings, even mass murderers, if he reflects, if he have self-cultivation, even a mass murderer can become a sage, according to Juicy. By learning and understanding, one can transcend the distinction of clear and turbid qi. Those who believe himself to not to be changeable just give up on themselves. The very positive picture of human beings. So, the message is we shouldn't relinquish our precious lives. Everybody here existing is precious. We should maintain our health, go to do gym, run, jog every day, eat good food. Your life is valuable. So the idea is, why is our life valuable? Of course, we are the best of the manifestation of endless generation, continuous generation. We exhibit the principles. We are the best of the existence. So, but even if we agree with this picture, we may not say that Juicy endorses immortality, because immortality is different from the idea of prolonging life. So we have to try our best to keep ourselves healthy, to keep ourselves continuing to exist, to keep healthy and wise, etc., because our existence is valuable. But what about immortality itself? Maybe there are some differences between immortality and, prolonging life. Because immortality implies infinity. Infinity is like in math, it is a mystical concept. When you talk about infinity, it's like you cannot imagine yourself existing infinitely, right? It's something different from your existing nowadays, right? So it's difficult to imagine what would happen if I have an immortal life. Bernard Williams, a contemporary philosopher, raised an objection to the idea of immortality. Who has heard of this objection? Nobody. So briefly speaking, the idea is immortal life would lack meaning due to boredom. So you don't feel bored because you feel like life is limited. You have a lot of things to do. You want to achieve several things before you die, making you a little bit stressful, and you think time is so precious. You don't want to devote your time to meaningless things, right? So you have a hierarchy of things to do. But if life is infinite, can you imagine that picture? It's like, well, there's no hierarchy of meaning of things. What is to do first? What is to do? What is less important, etc. Because you are now an immortal. You die. So here is an example provided by Williams. So this is a fiction. It's not real. In this fiction, there is Ellen, a pop singer. She has a talented voice and performance. So she has a chance to take a pill such that she is immune from disease and aging. So she keeps looking very young. Her body functions very well after she took the pill. And this continues for 300 years. So she took the pill and she lasts for 300 more years before she can decide whether she take another pill. But after 300 years, what is the picture? She gets very bored. She thinks nothing is meaningful to me. I I I just cannot enjoy anything in life. Nothing excites me. I just don't want to live anymore. So after 300 years, she decided not to take another pill and let herself die. She wants to die. So what about Juicy? Is the problem of boredom a problem for Juicy? What do you think? Yes, raise your hand. Juicy minds whether life is boring? Juicy doesn't mind? Nobody. Okay, so here is Juicy's discussion of immortality. His student asks him, well, does immortality exist? His answer is yes, of course. So he believes in the possibility of immortality. Why? It's because during his time, actually during the history of Chinese philosophy, there are religious Taoist tradition, and the religious Taoist tradition has the ultimate goal of immortality. And he thinks, well, actually it works. It's possible. Somebody has become immortals, and there will be people who become immortals. That works. But why is Juicy not pursuing this path? Juicy is a Confucianist, right? Juicy said, yes, this exists, it is possible, but it requires too much effort. It requires you to go to the mountain, have an isolated life, take in some, I don't know, what kind of pills, and do the meditation every day, leave your parents, right? And then not to care about politics, not to care about environment. So you have to live such a life and devote yourself to the practice of immortality. He thinks it is not worth it. It takes too much time. It wastes a lot of time. So better not to do it. What should we do? The best path is self-cultivation. Morally cultivate ourselves while awaiting death is the best thing to do because it is more valuable. So does it mean that he rejects the idea of immortality via human enhancement? What do you think? So, well, here's my thought. Of course, Juicy doesn't talk about it, But there is a difference between the traditional religious view of immortality and the present view of immortality via human enhancements. Because human enhancements may be accomplished through biological alternations and those users, right? So if I say, okay, I'm going to do a human enhancement, I was sent to a hospital, and then there are something operations, whatever. Maybe 12 hours later, the enhancement is done, and I have 30 more years to live. So users would not necessarily need a lot of time. It's not like religious practice of Taoism. It's not like you have to go to the isolated mountain for 20 years and meditate every day. It's so easy. So here is my postulation. Well, as a Confucian, well, I'm not sure if I'm a Confucian, but if you can imagine yourself to be a Confucian, you are very, very meaningful. Your life is very meaningful. You have a lot of things to do. You have to self cultivate. You have to help others. You have to contribute to society. You have to contribute to the betterment of well being, right, of humanity. You have a lot of, how to say, responsibilities because you already understand the heavenly principle and you now are to manifest these principles. So, huge amount of work to be done. Guiding followers, self cultivation, learning to become a sage. Ultimate goal. So, all these are very meaningful. A lot of achievements to pursue, contributions to make, a lot of tasks to undertake. But, we just have 80 or 90 years to live according to the, what is that, life expectancy calculated nowadays. 90 years? Is it enough? Confucians would say, no, it's not enough. So why not have life extension? So how many years of life extension is enough? Well, there's no definite answer. So it seems like there is an indefinite promotion, or we have a positive value about extending our life to do meaningful things as a Confucian or as a follower of Confucianism. Because we have the responsibility to promote continuous life generation. So, I think there is no reason for Confucian to avoid seeking immortality if technology permits. I wish to take a look at the time. I have plenty. How much have I spent? Oh, less than 30. Okay, if you are not bored, let us go to part 2. Is that okay? Part 2 is more about the Western perception of human enhancement. Well, human enhancement is very controversial. It's not that straightforward. People object to this. It's not like, oh, it's so good, enhancing our life. There are so many problems, pitfalls, questions, ethical considerations. What are they? Let me take a look. So what exactly is human enhancement? Is taking pills human enhancement? Going to the physician to examine your body using X-ray human enhancement? What kind of thing is human enhancement? So here is a very brief definition which is questionable. Human enhancements are biomedical interventions designed to improve human functioning beyond merely restoring or maintaining health. So there's something extra to do. And the methods are questionable. What are the methods? Pharmaceuticals, surgical, and genetic techniques. The third one is the most controversial. What are the genetic techniques? So if you heard of a physician in mainland China who tried to alter the DNA of a newborn, such that this newborn is immune from what is the sickness? Immune from one sickness. Yes, the virus. Yeah. So he has done genetic techniques to alter the DNA of a human being such that some of the disease are immune. This is genetical. It's very controversial. So what is the distinction between normal healthcare and human enhancements? Actually, the distinction is very hard to tell. Well, basically, nowadays philosophers want to say healthcare restore individuals to normalcy. So you're sick. For example, your kidneys are not functioning well. So you go to the physician, they give you pills or some operations to restore the normal functioning of your kidney. This is healthcare. Returning a person's function to the standard range of their demographic. So the standard range of a kidney is to function like that, right? Because all of us, the human beings, are like that. This is the normal functioning. What is human enhancements? Elevate normal functioning that exceeds the typical capabilities. Just like the case of the newborn, altering the DNA of this newborn, elevate the normal functioning because all of us are not immune from the HPV virus, right? HIV virus. But this particular newborn is immune from HIV. So he has surpassed the normal functioning. This is human enhancement. Now, there is a challenge of this definition. The challenge is, well, actually, many of us are trying to do something that surpass normal functioning without our aware of it. So you go to the physician, you take a vaccination. Well, 100 years ago, there's no such thing, right? So you are surpassing the normal function of human beings because now you have got immune from a particular disease which is not immune 100 years ago. So you're surpassed human functioning. So vaccination is one example. But we always think that vaccination should be legitimate. It's good, right? Good for humankind. There's no problem with vaccinations. Everybody should do it. So what is the difference between healthcare and human enhancement? Is vaccination human enhancement or healthcare? So there is a revised definition of human enhancement. So the solution is to say, well, when I do treatments, healthcare treatments, they are interventions that address maladies, which refer to health problems caused by diagnosable disease and disabilities. But human enhancements are interventions aimed at improving health systems and trace. So there is still a distinction between the two. And here is an example. Well, so prescribing biosynthetic growth hormone sounds like very provocative, right? Altering your hormone distribution or your hormone regulation to correct a diagnosable deficiency. For example, I'm just giving you an example. Maybe my female hormone is much lower than a normal female. So I have deficiency. So I go to the physician, I say, oh, I have problems. It alters my normal functioning of being a female. So I want to heal the disease. So she or he, the physician give me some injections and give me some additional female hormone such that I am more female like in terms of the function of the body. So this is okay according to this definition. This is healthcare. It is not enhancement. But prescribing it to individuals with normal growth hormone would be classified as an enhancement. What is this? So maybe my friend, who is actually a very normal, no, she's not. I mean, I'm imagining a friend, not her, not her. Imagine a friend of me. She's very normal in terms of her hormone, but she doesn't like to be female. He hates it. So what she did is to go to the physician and said, I hate it. I want to become a male. Okay, so I have the male hormone pills. I take pills, and then I become like a male. I'm not sure what happens. Maybe a lot of sound lowered, muscle growth, and then I walk to the street, and it's like, whoa, you're just a male because you have injected the male. So this would be classified as enhancement. Should it be permissible? This is the problem. This is enhancement. Is it good? Is it ethical? Should we do it? Should we do more of it? That's the question. So, if I still have time, I did 20. Okay. So, a little bit of the objections of human enhancement. Three representative philosophers. Callahan. He said, we should not seek to control the aging process. If you talk about immortality, you are controlling the aging process. You want to look very young. You want to function as a 30-year-old, right? This is to order the aging process. This is unethical because this fast, these limitations, aging is a limitation. It fosters humility and modesty. You are a human being and you try to be God. You're arrogant. You don't realize your place in the world. Actually, these limitations of ourselves, like aging and death, give us modesty. Let us know about our position in the world, which are actually beneficial for humanity as a whole. We need these kind of things to become a good human being. We have virtue because we have limitations. This is one of the reasons. So Eliot, we should not alleviate feelings of sadness. So we all think sadness is bad, right? It's a negative feeling. I don't want to be sad. It's suffering. But some philosophers said actually suffering is necessary for our well-being as a whole. So imagine in the heaven, you don't suffer at all. There's no death, there's no aging, there's no limitations, there's no work for you to do, there are no hierarchy, there are no race. So what are you going to do in heaven? It's like I have nothing to do, right? I have no meanings. So I have meanings only when there is deficiency in the world. So for example, it may not be deficiency, but there is something lacking in the world. For example, there are children, I need to teach them. They have their lack of knowledge, right? They are lackings in the world, so there's meaning in the world because of these lackings. They are suffering. Okay, there is a physician to help alleviate the suffering. So you have to have some lackings, insufficiency, or limitation, or death, such that you have meanings in your life. That is another rejection. The third rejection, we emphasize our place within the natural world. So it is unnatural to do human enhancements. because it blurs the boundaries by directing evolution. So evolution is natural. And it is the result of evolution that we have a particular DNA. But now you say you are altering the DNA of a certain, species like humans. It's not natural. It's not evolution. You are trying to transcend evolution. So here is a community called UN Convention on Genetic Technologies. They object to the idea of human enhancements. They push the stop button to it, saying that human enhancement alters the essence of humanity, manipulates human evolution, right? We are evolved to be subject to certain virus attack. Now you change it so that we are the king of the world. We are immune to a lot of virus, but it may not be good. It transgressed against humanity, undermine the foundations of human rights, and actually leading to human extinction. After you manipulate the DNA, is it still a human being? What is that? And they replaces us. This wonderful new species replace us. So it is the extinction of humankind. So what is the difference between natural evolution and human enhancement? Natural evolution occurs over an extended period, and it is gradual. It is the result of interaction between different species. It has incremental changes. It's slow. It is like there is a mechanism testing whether your change of DNA works for this species, right? If it doesn't work, maybe the species will change back to an original kind of DNA. These very small changes gradually occurring. And it is usually shaped by environmental factors like competition among species. And then this species has a lower population and it is forced to change because it is in danger, right? This kind of interaction between different species triggers evolution. And it's not about our human control. It is like we throw back ourselves to the nature and give nature the opportunity to manipulate our DNA. We trust nature. Our DNA is given by the nature, given by the interaction between different kinds of species. But human enhancement is a totally different concept. It can be having a sudden change. For example, if a physician invented a kind of technique such that we are immune to 10 kinds of viruses, then we can all be injected or our DNA can all be changed such that human species after today all are immune to 10 kinds of viruses or disease. So it can be a sudden, huge change. And also, it is value laden. The value system is implied from a human perspective, not from a nature's perspective. We think viruses are not good for humans. We are humans. We are human-centered existence. So we think it is good for us to be immune from these diseases. But it is a human-centered perspective. We don't want ourselves to die. We don't actually care about other species, right? Dogs die, no problem. Humans die, there is a problem. We are humans. So we have a value-laden conception when we apply human enhancements. We are human-centered. Okay, there is another problem of cheating raised by various philosophers nowadays. So imagine a DNA manipulated human being now. This guy is a Confucian sage. He doesn't lie. He doesn't, I don't know. He just devote himself to self-cultivation. His ultimate goal is to be a sage. is always thinking about how to help others. But let me tell you, this guy is the result of human enhancement. Actually, there's a physician who changed his DNA from his birth such that this person cannot or is not able to think of any evil thoughts. He's just a born stage. He's just a manipulated stage. He's an enhanced, the result of enhancement. So is this cheating? Is it good for us? If all of us are born to be stages, is it good for us? There's no striving. We don't need to work on our, changing our characters, right? Because we are born to be sages. Is it good? According to Confucian, what does he think? How much time do I have? So last 14 minutes, I will very briefly talk about my postulation of how Juicy would answer these questions. Of course, Juicy doesn't have this in mind, right? Because he doesn't encounter the idea of human enhancement. But I'm just trying to answer these questions for him according to the text he has compiled. So now we have these questions. What is human beings? What is the essence of human beings? Have I skipped something? No. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, so the Jusian ontology basically is this. There are two levels of existence. There are the principles and there are the qi. What are they? Principles are time-independent abstract moral concepts. It's like, oh, they're up there. They're metaphysical. They're the source and justification of our moral actions. And at the same time, they are the concrete things, the qi. The qi is the concrete fundamental substance that constitute reality. I mean, the concrete reality and the fundamental building block of the world. There are two levels of things. Oh, thank you. So, what is human nature? What does Juicy think about human nature? So, Chinese philosophers like to talk about human nature, but Juicy thinks that all these ancient Chinese philosophers like Mencius, Confucius, Xunzi, 还有谁? Anybody? All these are wrong because these people have focused on the experiential aspect, the empirical aspect of human nature, talking about our psychological dispositions, our personality, our thoughts, our emotions, etc. Right? These are wrong. When you talk about human nature, according to Juicy, actually, you should emphasize on the principles. So we are unique in the sense that we are manifesting the principles and other things like the chairs and the tables. Their configuration of qi is too bad that they cannot really manifest the principles. We are the only beings that are able to have moral actions such that the principles, the moral principles, are manifested. So human nature is metaphysical. It is the moral principles. This is our unique human nature. It is the normative aspects of humanity. So you can read this by Juicy. Juicy said, human nature is the principle contained within the mind. What are the principles? The moral principles. They are from the heaven, they are metaphysical, but they are also in our mind. We are able to manifest them. The principle is metaphysical, but they are not separated from qi. So human nature must be good because the moral principles must be good. So we are not talking about our human characteristics. When we talk about human nature, we are not talking about the human tendencies. It's not an empirical question. You shouldn't go to the street and interview the people and observe their behaviors in order to understand human nature. This is not the way to understand human nature. What is the way to understand human nature? Reflect upon yourself. Reflect upon your moral principles. This is in your mind. There are the moral principles. This is your human nature. So, there are two levels. So, many people, when we talk about human nature, for example, we talk about the function. This is the level of concrete things, the qi. So, we talk about the eyes. What is the nature of the eye? Many philosophers would say, okay, the nature of the eye is to see. This is the nature. This is the function of the eye. Juicy said, no, I'm not talking about this. When you talk about the nature of the eye, you should be talking about the moral principles that guide your action of the eye. So what is the moral principles about the eye? Which is, do not see things that are inappropriate. This is the manifestation of the principles via the eye. 眼睛. I will skip this. Okay, so human nature is the metaphysical moral principles, but it must be manifested via concrete constitution. And there is a problem because we all are constituted by qi. We are restricted. Somebody's qi is bad. I don't know. Maybe we have to do massage more to make the qi better flow within our body. So you have a lot of problems with the qi. That blocks you from doing moral actions. So why am I talking about this? So we are trying to reply to the objections of human enhancements. So here is Jussian attitude towards human enhancements based on Jussi's idea of human nature. So here are the questions. How does Jussi define human beings? What is the essence of humanity that must be preserved during human enhancements? So we are worried that during human enhancements, we try to make humans extinct, right? Because you manipulate the DNA. So what is to be preserved? How do you define human beings? So here is my postulation of Jussi's answers. Due to the fact that human nature belongs to the metaphysical realm, the essence of humanity should be the manifestation of these principles. So if you alter the DNA of human beings such that these human beings maintain the ability of moral reasoning, such that our emotions do not hinder the manifestations of the moral principles, then these should be regarded as humans. So when you have human enhancements, make sure you retain the moral qualities of humanity. This is what Jussi wants to emphasize. Make sure the manifestation of human nature is minimally constrained by the configuration of qi. So we all have some bad configuration of qi. It is good to improve our configuration of qi such that The human nature, namely the moral principles, can be manifested. So what about cheating? What about discrimination? If we use enhancements to enhance our lifespan, is it discriminating against those short-lived? So you're saying that these people who only have 50 years of life is like cheap or bad. So I have 300 years of living, which is good, right? This is like a discrimination. Well, here is my postulation of Juicy's answer. Actually, Juicy does have a hierarchy of the configuration of Qi. Somebody indeed have less optimal configuration of Qi. So, under this basis, is moral enhancement or if is human enhancements a kind of cheating? Well, what is Juicy's answer? Well, Juicy actually doesn't regard a sage as inborn. Even a sage like Confucius himself needs to practice self-cultivation continuously. Nobody should stop at any moment of his life. So there's nothing to be proud of as a human being. So what does he say? As human beings, what we can do is to continuously strive to understand the mandate of heaven, to realize the moral principles, to manifest them via our actions. And the reason is that this is our this is our mandate, right? This is our responsibility. If we don't fulfill our responsibility, we will be ashamed. So all these moral actions just prevent ourselves from being ashamed. In general, people should focus on understanding the principles and diligently adhere to them such that we do not feel ashamed before the heaven. So I don't think human enhancements is a kind of cheating according to Juicy's perspective, because nobody should be proud of themselves as a sage. There's no such thing as a perfect human being. Even Confucius himself have to self-cultivate. And we should self-cultivate by all means, by innate understanding or by learning or by experience. We have to practice benevolence, whether it is out of our comfort, our benefit, or necessity. By all means, you should self-cultivate, even if other people think you're already a sage. So there's nothing to be arrogant about. There's no such thing as cheating. We have to strive. We have to continuously guard our behaviors. So it's like no ending. Therefore, moral enhancement should not be treated as cheating because there's no ending. Even for a enhanced being, he has to practice self-cultivation. Okay, here's the conclusion. So in my opinion, I think from a Juician perspective, he generally endorses the idea of human enhancement. Why? Because we talk about human nature as moral principles. And these moral principles serve as the foundation of moral actions. So when we talk about human enhancements, all this can facilitate our manifestation of moral principles. But we have to be careful. For example, we should do human enhancements that can facilitate the manifestation of moral principle. We should not limit our moral reasoning ability when we do human enhancements. And we should evaluate the human enhancement not solely on the capacity to extend life, but also on the ability to promote moral development and ethical living. I think I can skip this. So that is the end of my presentation. It's a very long one. Thank you so much for your patience.
Happy to moderate on your behalf. Maybe start forming a queue, and if and when you do ask a question, please wait until you've received a microphone for the purpose of the recording. Does anybody want to begin our Q&A? Anybody? Okay, Gary. Yes. You can pass this along to subsequent speakers. Keep raising your hands throughout. I can note your name on this paper as the conversation carries.
Thank you,
Go ahead.
Professor, for your presentation. It's very interesting. Uh, I have a question about, if I understand correctly, you said that Zhu Xi argues that because human, the moral principle is inherent in human nature, so that human must be good.
Yes.
That's correctly. But I'm not sure I will agree with this view. I'm a bit skeptical about that because I think that human, moral principle is abstract and it's only manifest in human. This probably arguably correct, but it seems that it's only follow that only human can grasp the principle of the abstract moral principle. Even only human can uh, make have only have the only species that can make that can have the ability to make the moral judgment. It seems that it doesn't seem that it followed human must or must be able uh, to execute moral virtue, right?
Yes.
It seems to be a gap there, and that so I'm not sure I understand correctly, and I'm not sure do you agree with this view? And the second question is I'm trying to be more skeptical about the human nature, since in your presentation, you link several topics to human nature, including the meaning of life, moral principle, and human enhancement, which is very interesting. But it seems to me like that all these topics, they are arguing what is the meaning of life, what is moral principle, and what is the limit about human enhancement is related to how it's related to definition of human nature. And in this talk or in a more common view on human nature, there seems to be accepted the assumption that human nature is an unchanged property that to define human. So I'm not trying to say that the human nature uh, is nothing. I think there is something defined human, but it doesn't seem that we must be um, to think that human nature is something unchangeable. A possibility is that maybe, for example, the meaning of life, the moral principle, or something like human attachment may be different depending on different area of uh, yeah, maybe vary on different time. So I'm not sure should we shouldn't we being doubtful about the unchanged nature of human nature? Thank you.
Very good question. Well, so you're challenging Juicy's definition of human nature as moral principles, as unchanging, and as the unique feature of human beings. Well, first, Juicy is Juicy doesn't answer the question of the diversity of our moral judgments all over the world. He doesn't really think about the discrepancy between different cultures regarding their moral judgments. For example, this is just an example, I don't know. Let us just imagine that there is a country in Africa that regards killing babies as morally acceptable, or there's another country, I don't know, in the world that accepts um I don't know, polygamy or whatever you like. So we as Chinese or, as Americans or as Europeans may not be able to accept these moral practices. We would regard these as immoral, but they think it is normal. So, like, how to explain the discrepancy between different cultures regarding our moral judgments? Juicy does not answer this question, but I would guess he would say even if there are differences between the details of how to implement policies regarding betterment of society, there are some maxims, maybe something like a Kantian maxim that is applicable to all circumstances, and they are not concrete, just like don't hurt or. And this kind of thing can be applied to examine whether a moral judgment is reasonable or not. So I guess Juicy would say there are objective moral maxims out there, which is not subjective, which is not mind dependent. There are moral principles out there. So I think he is a moral realism. He thinks there are something like objective moral, ultimate moral principles out there. But how to explain the discrepancy? I guess he would say, well, when you talk about some concrete, detailed moral descriptions or moral statements, well, there are gaps or they are subject to explanations due to a cultural background or a religious background. For example, this religion, these people born in this religion regard this as normal and they are happy to abide the rules within a particular religion, then given that they are happy with it, then maybe we should, let them do the same thing. So I think there can be differences, but there are objective moral maxims which are ultimate. This is my understanding of my interpretation of Juicy's idea of human nature. So human nature are the ultimate moral principles. They are universal, time independent, and is not subject to cultural differences. Something like that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
So I was wondering about the earlier part of your speech where you spoke about the importance of reproduction as a moral imperative and it being the most unfilial thing in the world to not to have offspring. And while I absolutely agree with you about getting my vaccinations, eating healthy, lifting heavy, everything to live my 90 years, absolutely. Why should we be miserable if we can be happy? But my son is going to need space one day, and this planet cannot inhabit that many people. That we learn in eco-philosophy. We have to die. I don't want to, but we have to die to get out of the way of the younger generation who could be better and think better than we can. Isn't it our moral duty that we got to get out of their way eventually because it just isn't space for everyone?
Very good question. So I would say, well, it is more like the intrinsic nature of existence is valuable, but the overall calculation may not be the case. So intrinsically, it's good to have this to exist instead of not existing. But given the environment does not permit, or given that this existence is harming the existence of other things or harming the endless generation of life in general or as a system, then this existence the overall value of this existence may be negative, even if existence in itself has intrinsic positive value. So this is my interpretation. Of course, Mencius does not say something like that, but I'm trying to help them to say, okay, we have to explain, why there are some existence that actually is not desirable. But he still thinks that existence itself is good. So I'm trying to provide a systematic answer to this question, but it is my postulation. It's not Mencius answer. Yes.
Hello, Professor.
Hi.
I was thinking about one thing. Um, I know that there are many novels about martial arts where the warriors have the very strange ways to elevate their chi.
The
And
chi.
yeah,
Oh.
I wonder, according to Zhu Xi's theory, uh, is this possible in real life?
To
And
manipulate the chi such that you become a stronger and
yeah,
better person?
to become a stronger fighter, and
Very good question. Well, I think the understanding of qi in the Confucius tradition is a bit different from that of the Taoist tradition. So the Taoist tradition regards qi as morally neutral. So when you cultivate or manipulate the qi within your body, it is just like going to sauna, taking a hot tub, doing tai chi, making your body healthier. It is not about morality. It's just about, you know, making yourself stronger. But according to the Confucian tradition, since Mencius, he talks about 浩然之气, which is moral, which is not about, neutral enhancement of your bodily health. It's not about that. It's about a kind of emotion that be push you to care about the external world or push you to feel like you have to do it. It is righteous. I have to, this is unjust. I have the 浩然之气 and I cannot bear it. I have to do something. That kind of thing. So the 浩然之气, later on, New Confucian, when they talk about the qi, they have this kind of implication. Qi is not neutral. Qi is moral, according to Confucians. So when you say you are manipulating qi, it is not by doing tai chi, going swimming, or meditation. It is by reflecting upon your moral principles and thinking about how to react appropriately in a particular context or a situation. It is basically about moral reactions and behaviors in interactions. So they don't really emphasize on meditation or tai chi or something like that. So there is a difference. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Danny. Very nice to see you. Glad to have you here. So very interesting presentation, and also very complex, very rich, because there are so many aspects involved. And I am not at all familiar with Dusi, that I hope I am pronouncing correctly. But I have a first one preliminary question before my question. That is, would you say that, like, given, for example, this inseparability of moral principles from human nature, would you think that this morality in human beings for Ducy is an intrinsic aspect of human nature, meaning it's also a natural element, like sort of a Humean, idea of morality? Would you consider to see as a sharing and a Humean view of morality, of moral principles?
My understanding is that Hume thinks about morality as rooted in our moral emotions.
In nature, yes.
In nature. But I think Juicy is a bit different in this sense because he thinks we shouldn't listen to our emotions. Our emotions belong to the concrete or the configuration of qi, which may mislead us. Sometimes we feel the emotion pushing us to hit the person, which is because our configuration of qi is not very good.
I see. So,
yeah.
so it would be more like a Kantian approach.
Yes, I think so. I would say
Okay.
he's more Kantian than
Okay, so
Humean.
given this idea of addressing Ducey's views of morality from the the perspectives that are available in the debate of enhancement, of human enhancement.
Yes.
I was wondering whether you may find it useful to limit the scope to some specific form of enhancement, rather
Oh.
than considering like human enhancement as a whole. I don't know whether it may be more beneficial to just individuate the area of a moral bioenhancement. Rather than, because do you really need to discuss like immortality, or it would be enough to just address the issue of a moral bioenhancement? Like, what do she would say at the prospect of having everyone morally bioenhanced by means of, say, a particular drug that, for example, reestablish the configuration of the chi and help us reasoning morally well, right?
I see what you say. Yes, I think it is a very good suggestion. I will think about it. The reason that I use this a bit broad discussion of human enhancement is that I found in the literature a lot of discussions about extending lifespan, but not many discussion about enhancing our morality. I think the physicians are not very care about enhancing our morality. So I cannot find a lot of literature on this concept. That's why it's like combining
I see.
the two.
I think there is a specific debate on moral bioenhancement. It was, I think, very much discussed a few years ago. Not sure now because I've lost track of that debate. But I
maybe
think
I write to you and
sure,
maybe you can
yeah,
send something to me such that I can learn
absolutely.
more about this area.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Professor Hong, for the presentation. I have a question about immortality from the perspective of Confucianism. There is a very important aspect from Confucianism morality is filial piety.
Yes.
That we had to serve the death. And according to principle of generating, like Shenzhen, that when something is generating, there is supposed to be something to come to end. So it looks weird that if our family members are immortal, that there will not be that people. And I am confused if Confucianism will support that our family member to be immortal.
Very good question. I also think about this. And I don't have a definite answer at this moment. But I would say, given that there are technologies that enhance the life expectancy of my parents, would I support my parents to do that? Just to, limit your question to your own parents. So you have your own parents. Do you wish them to die at a so-called normal life expectancy range of like 80 years old, or do you prefer them to have longer life? Are you happy to support them if they want to do human enhancement such that they have 300 more years? So if this question applies to me, I would say, given that I'm happy with my parents living, right, continuously living, of course I would support them to live longer as a filial son or daughter, right? I hope them to happy. I hope them to be happy. I hope them to have a fruitful life. So when they decide to have a longer life, why should I restrict their desire? So from this kind of personal perspective, I would say, as a filial son, I don't want my parents to die, right? And I would support their desire to live longer. So if I apply this to other people, other, sons or daughters, other father or mother, so I also hope other people can enjoy their life, given that they think their life is meaningful and they want to extend their life. There's no reason to prohibit them. So I think, in principle, if Confucian idea is that life is virtuous and it is good, to exist, then it seems like we shouldn't say, okay, we have to end somebody's life because that is the destiny, or life should end at some place, because the idea of endless generation endorses and supports the existence of life. Yeah. This is my personal opinion.
Thank you. I may have a stupid question to ask. If according to Zhu Xi, the human nature actually is a configurations of qi that manifest moral principles. So does it mean that there is a universal moral principle that is manifested by the and that is related to the configurations of qi? If we all have a universal set of principles to follow, and how does it accord with in the society we have different roles to play, we have different responsibilities to take, and so why is this hierarchical structure of the society? Thank you.
Very good question. So I think the ultimate moral principle, you can think of it as one, universal, and applying to all things. It is more like the Tao, which is you cannot name a particular principle as the ultimate moral principle. There is no such thing as, okay, for every x, if x blah blah blah, then blah blah blah. That would be like a particular thing already, right? So there is no such thing as a statement of the ultimate principle. So it's like a postulation of something that is ultimate, which is a moral principle. And then there are a lot of different moral principles derived from this ultimate moral principle, which can be named. For example, as a filial son, you should blah blah blah. As a loyal, governor, you should blah blah blah. So 礼仪分书 is like there is the ultimate thing. It is the source of all the detailed, discrete, the concrete moral principles, which are describable, which are applied to different situations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for presentation. And I got a question like, you see the Confucianist said the existence itself is valuable.
Yes.
And if there's a more immortal, if he can like follow the moral principle and is always good. And I just think and you say even a bad guy is the existence of a bad guy itself is also valuable. And so if like there's a bad man and he become immortal and he like just and do do many evil things for 100 years, and because he's an immortal and suddenly he become a Confucianism sage, and he can do moral things for like 1,000 years, even billion years. So yeah, so because the possibility, because he's just inherent, and his possibility can always have a chance to be good. So it seems like make a bad man to be immortal is also good. Like even the evil man do bad things for thousands of years because he has an immortal life, and once he become good, then he has like more time to fix it, something like this. Does it work?
Very good question. Wow. It's like what is that? Science fiction thought experiments that overturn Juicy's theory, right? Very good. So well, I think Juicy here is saying something general, like is life variable? in general, existence is valuable. Human is valuable. Human is the most valuable existence on Earth. And even the most evil human being is capable of self-cultivation. So it's a very positive picture of the value of human beings. Well, he doesn't say anything about whether we should, kill um, uh, a very evil person. So whether Juicy endorses what is the term that punishes? What is a capital punishment, right? Would Juicy endorse capital punishment? Good question. Juicy hasn't answered it. But in this case, I guess this is my postulation. If there is an evil existence, that the configuration of chi of this person makes it the case that the overall value of existence of this person is lower than 0, is negative, I guess Juicy would say, yeah, let us just kill him, right? But, this is my postulation. He doesn't say anything like that. So applying this postulation to your case, in general, all humans are valuable because they are capable of self-cultivation, exhibition of moral value, moral principles. But if there are some evil persons whose existence is not fostering the exhibition of moral principles, I guess Juicy would say, okay, then this guy is like outlier. Let us just let us just kill him. But this is my guess. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hi. Thank you for coming.
Very interesting talk. So I had a thought, actually, kind of along the same lines as Nevia's thought about the scope of your project, and
Yes.
yeah, looking at this very broad scope rather than more individual questions, right? Because I found also the richness of your discussion very interesting, like the discussion from the kind of Western or contemporary discourse on life extension and so on, human enhancement, very interesting, right? And there's a lot of subtlety there. And then also when you deal with Juicy and his various aspects of his theory, including, the valuing of life and the configuration of chi and so on, there's a lot of subtlety, and it's they're all complex issues, and you pay attention to that complexity. But then when you put the two together, it seems like the conclusion, the overall conclusion, you put it in the positive form, which is that Juicy would approve of life enhancement with certain conditions, right? The converse of that would be that, right, Juicy does not categorically object to life enhancement, right? Which is just maybe not the most interesting part of your presentation, that conclusion, right? Because it doesn't really tell us much about Juicy, right? So I'm just to make just a small example, right, about drawing from the individual case to the general principle, right, of his philosophy. When you mentioned his interaction with the Taoist immortality, right, and he gives this objection to, he says that it's good, right, to try and cultivate one's body and so on, but it has this drawback that then one cannot engage in other things, right? So we can only know from this that he has this objection to the cultivation. We cannot tell from this that he approves of cultivation other than this, right? Because if we could press him further, if we could say, oh, well, now we have this human enhancement and you don't have to go to all this effort, you can still do other things. What would Juicy say? Then we can't press him on that, right? Because we cannot deliver that information to Juicy, right? Do you know what I mean? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that rather than drawing out the more general conclusions, it would be really cool if, like, in the section where you talk about these various debates going on with human enhancement, including like the extension of life, but also like the moral thing and like the cheating thing, right? They're kind of like separate issues. And then in each one to like, zone in on like what Juicy might think about this. Yeah. So I guess it's just a question or a comment about the kind of overall method, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's a bit difficult for us to guess what Juicy would think about contemporary issues like human enhancements. Therefore, I have to make a lot of educated guess when I declare an interpretation of Juicy in this area. So it is like I can only give very broad postulations about Juicy's view on human enhancements in general, based on his idea of endless generation or existence is valuable, etc. And so that is what I can do at this moment. So in terms of more specific questions, my postulation would not be having a lot of textual evidence to support. So that is one difficulty for me to dig into one specific problem about human enhancement. So I will think about it, how to deal with more specific issues within the literature of human enhancement. But I guess it would require me to have even more educated guess, or my own reconstruction of Juicy's theory or something like that, which I'm a little bit reluctant because I still I still study the text and I heavily rely on the text, and this is a kind of a new approach for me, which is to like try to step into his shoes and see what he would say about the contemporary issues of ethical problems with something new. And I'm not sure what the other people would think about this methodology. So I'm just trying to do something like that. And I receive criticisms saying that you're saying too much. It's like you are representing Juicy and you're putting us into his mouth. He doesn't say that. So I'm trying to seek a balance between textual analysis and interpretation and postulations.
Thank you.
Which
Yeah.
is yeah.
I mean, I guess just your when you mentioned focusing on those individual issues, your feeling is that that would cause you to do more of this educated guesses, right? My feeling is that it would cause you to do less, but I don't know. I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I see. I would try. I would see what would it look like if I alter some of these and try to revise the paper's structure such that I focus on more specific contents.
Yeah, or like integrating, by putting them more together rather than separating them out so much in different sections. But anyway,
Thank you so much for
thank you,
your
thank you, thank
advice.
you.
I will see. I will try.
Thanks.
I still have a lot to revise. It's like the first version or something like that. Thank you so much.
That does bring us to the end of our formal proceedings here. I'll just remind you once again, for those interested in continuing the conversation informally, we will be in the port just really, I think, one door down or two at the most. And otherwise, I think it would be great if we could thank our speaker once again.
Thank you so much.